Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Miller, and welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. So we're talking about building up, changing Kingston skyline, putting up perhaps 20-story buildings. There are lots of issues to talk about, lots to get into. And with us on the program today to talk through those issues, we have Christopher Hamilton. He's president of the Jamaica Institute of Engineers. We also have with us Dr. EARL Bailey, lecturer and program director for urban and regional planning at the University of Technology. Dr. Carol Archer with us as well, associate professor of urban and regional planning at UTech, and architect Christopher Wimstone from Cornerstone Designs. Before we get to our guests, though, let's go to this overview.
This is what the Kingston waterfront looks like now, but according to Prime Minister Andrew Holness, it could look vastly different in the near future. This is on the condition that crime trends down, infrastructure is put in place, and the macroeconomy is steady.
Once we get all those three things aligned, within 5 years, the skyline of Kingston is going to change.
The Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston is listed as the tallest building in the country. It is 17 stories high. Scotiabank Centre, Sunset Jamaica Grand 2, the former Hilton Hotel, and the Bank of Jamaica building make up the top 5. But there are people who are interested in going even higher.
There are requests now for 20-story buildings. There are requests for far more comprehensive development, residential and commercial developments together of a grander scale. So within short order, the face of Kingston could change fundamentally.
Mr. Holness believes that based on Jamaica's culture, lifestyle, and position in the region, Jamaica could rival Miami in Florida, USA. And there are different versions of what the Kingston skyline could look like. The Urban Development Corporation in particular has a digital blueprint for the area. But the Prime Minister recognizes that taller, pretty buildings are useless unless the city is prepared for all elements associated with skyscrapers.
What really needs to happen is a rethink. One, of the infrastructure, meaning we have to have a better road system, a better telecommunication system, a better water and sewage system, and a better public transportation system.
Mr. Holness noted that Kingston as a whole was relatively unplanned with the exception of the waterfront, which was built in the 1960s.
But since then, there has not been a wholesale enterprise level rethinking of Kingston and its infrastructure. What has happened is that individual developers have sought to take over lands which were previously designated as single home residential lots and have sought to make them multifamily lots. But it has not really changed the nature of Kingston.
This is the new 10-story residential complex on South Avenue in St. Andrew that has people talking and the Prime Minister chanting the modernization of Kingston. But what is the right approach to realizing more of these high-rise structures? For All Angles, I'm Herman Green.
Thank you so very much, Herman. Okay, so if we're talking then, according to that report, we already have a 17-story building, a couple of 15 stories, a 14-story. Mr. Hamilton, is it really a big deal then to be talking about 20-story buildings?
No, I don't think it is. Actually, the 20-story buildings and such of the like is basically what we'd probably need to increase the density within our city limits.
Why?
However, what we would say about it is that we'd expect that the infrastructure would be created to support this sort of environment. We need to ensure that we have sufficient water, drainage, sewage, that the sidewalks are of the particular design that would facilitate that sort of environment. We would also want to think that the areas that we would target first for this sort of development would so allow developments to enhance the environment, so to speak.
Why though? You said that's what we need to increase the density within city limits. Why do we want to do that at all?
Well, if you consider that Kingston City is the center of the urban development, we expect that most of our populace will be working within the limits, and expect that if they do live within the limits, that you would be reducing the cost of living for these people. So we would expect that for the average citizen that needs to be traveling from Longville, for example, that's a cost to them, a cost that the nation also has to bear. So
Okay.
increasing the limit would alleviate some of these problems.
Okay. Dr. Archer?
Well,
Is where we should be headed?
not really. And I'm happy that we're having the discussion at this time because we're celebrating Architect Week. And I'm just leaving a discussion where we have visitors from Medellin that talked about the transformation of Medellin. And what I found very pointed in their discussion was that they put people first. So the vision that they had for developing their cities was not necessarily driven by investors, but was driven by the vision that the residents, that the people who live and work and occupy the city, the vision that they had for their city. So I'm hearing the Prime Minister making the announcement, but I am not hearing what is informing that. I'm not hearing whether it is being informed by the people's vision, the people's hopes and dreams and aspiration. I'm not hearing that it is taken into consideration various economic, psychosocial issues. And when we create cities, we are not creating buildings. We are creating environment where people live, work, interact. And that must be at the center. Because we have serious economic implications when we talk about building these high-rise apartments. What we have found elsewhere in the world, and we can draw examples and lessons from numerous cities, these types of housing are usually exclusionary. They are housing for the upper and the middle class.
Hold that point for me, because I want to come back to that a little bit later. Let me bring in Dr. Bailey and ask you for your thoughts on it.
Well, my thoughts are multiple. NEPA has crunched some figures recently, and with proper rezoning, Kingston can accommodate 5 million people. But the question is, where does that leave Spanish Town, Maypen, Morambe, our neighboring urban centers? So we need to have a national urban approach to development, because we can't consider Kingston to be the only urban center in the country. We have other nodes that are also important. So are we going to go a policy of enforcing primacy where Kingston becomes the place to be, or are we going to go development in other urban nodes, St. James, Montego Bay, Maypen, Mandeville? What about those centers? Are we going to let everybody come to live in Kingston now and then forget about the other urban nodes? So we have to take a national approach to this kind of development. I think I'm okay with high-rise densities, but it has to be done considering the impact of the KMA on the other urban nodes. So I think that the Vernon Field proposed metropolis will also be part of the linkage of what's happening in Kingston. The north-south highway that links us to the north coast will also be a major factor in determining. So there has to be commensurate investment in our urban centers for it to work.
Hold that point for me. Let me bring in Mr. Wimstone and ask him for his initial comments. Right direction, increasing density, building up.
Certainly, most definitely. For a long time, developers have been trying to build taller buildings, and there's nothing unique or exceptional about 20-story. We have 17, 18, as has been mentioned. But for a long time, developers have been trying to build higher, but our regulators and the system has not allowed for that. So there's always been that willingness to go higher.
Well, developers are in development to make money, right?
Yeah.
So that's their
Yes.
primary
And
aim.
there is a
Yes.
demand for housing. Let's not kid ourselves. We're very short on our housing stock.
Lower
in the
to middle
country.
income, though.
Straight
a lot of what
across.
is being built is 20 million, 30 million.
Yeah.
I have friends house hunting, and they said they can't find everywhere because there are places, but they're out of their price point.
And we will get there, but this is why we have to, as Earl said, we have to look at the rezoning of the densities so we can accommodate housing at all different levels. Many countries have used multi-story buildings for housing solutions for the the lower income bracket. Obviously, we're not talking about 20 stories for that bracket, but it's quite possible 4, 5, 6 stories to meet those needs while still keeping the price at a level that can be afforded by, perhaps with some subsidy, but can be afforded.
Right.
No, we're not building those yet, but we're just starting.
Hold that thought for me for a moment. Let me go to our first break. Lots of meat here to chew on, lots of issues to talk about. Remember, you can tweet along with us, hashtag TVJ All Angles, and you can text me as well, 8953999. That's 8953999. Do give us your first name, give us your location, soon come.